Chapter 1. Only a week or so to go. Nice, France. I was trying to calm down. Honest. A hostel lobby is no place for a panic attack, after all. My palms and my sweat glands thought otherwise, though, and my eyes wouldn't quit darting around the room. Clock. It's 4 already? Mirror. God, I look like shit. Attendant. Can you hurry the fuck up, please? You're right, mate, the attendant asked. It's always a pleasure to hear Australians speak. So effortless, it sounds like honey flowing from their vocal cords. Unfortunately, it wasn't an Australian gold type of afternoon. Sorry, I shot back. You all right? No. I mean, yeah. No. I'm just tired, I said, forcing a laugh. I liked to think that I'd learned to be subtle as I traveled through Europe. In many ways, I had. But I was still a far cry from the James Bond I became when I fell asleep. If people were as great as they dreamed themselves to be, this world would be a much better place. All right, he said. So, you're in room 309. That's the 3rd floor and... Got it! Thanks. I bolted toward the door, leaving the smooth notes of his voice behind. Stabbing the button with my finger, I ground my teeth together to the tune of Thunderstruck. It was almost a flawless exit. Almost. Hey, the Australian called from across the room. What? The elevator's out of service. I huffed and marched up the stairs with Thunderstruck rumbling around in my jaw. Like I said, far cry from Bond. If you're wondering why I was giving the attendant my best terrorist toddler act, it's because I could have sworn that I was being followed. I mean, Nice was the biggest city I'd hit in a few weeks, and I was the most wanted fugitive in the world. Probably. Crazier things have happened. Earlier that afternoon, I was out scouting for smoke spots before I could check into the hostel. In my experience, one of the best parts of traveling is finding great places to burn through stolen cigarettes. After a few hours of waiting, walking a couple back streets and stopping at a pâtisserie for a top-notch croissant, I decided to head to the hostel. As I made it to the street it was on, I felt it. They're here. A girl turned the corner at the end of the road, betrayed only briefly by the radiant ends of her blonde hair whipping by. I aggressively blinked and squished my face in my hands. If it had been the police, would I still be standing with my mouth stuck open on the sidewalk? Definitely not. I couldn't have been in any imminent danger. Still, that hair brought back an image. Her image. And it still burned in my mind when I burst into the hostel. Once I made it to the room, I went through my bag. It was a light string backpack, emphasis on light. Stick of deodorant, toothbrush, change of clothes. Just the essentials. Stuff that goes faster, toothpaste, soap, money, I'd steal from other people in the hostels. Even though I technically had all those things, I never really felt like they were mine. Don't get it twisted. It's not like I was some kind of monster who steals for fun. I only did it to survive. I had traveled this way ever since I left Madrid, bouncing from town to town and hostel to hostel. Hostels are phenomenal, especially for thieves. It's all newlyweds and college kids, and neither really care about their shit. They're so generous, too. Usually, you can get away with borrowing everything you need. The number of borrowed bars of deodorant I've smuggled from one hostel to the next is probably above 10. Plus, even when your temporary roommates refuse to lend you stuff, they tend to abandon their luggage whenever they leave the room. Honeymoons and summer vacations are seldom spent in moldy dorm rooms, and that fact has afforded me a couple tubes of toothpaste and enough cash to fund my journey through Southern Europe's hostel network. See, most people expect the best from other people. That's why so many people get fucked over. It doesn't take being the smartest in the room to win. I'm definitely not. All it takes to win is being the biggest asshole, the one who does what it takes to survive. That's why I've done all that I've done. To survive. The only other thing in my bag was a Spanish passport. It wasn't mine originally, but it's not like I stole it. It was a gift from a friend. Truthfully, it hadn't been a very useful gift. I never used it, actually, since the picture looked nothing like me. That said, it was the most important thing in my bag. the only thing in there that I really owned. The passport was my humanity, or all I had left of it. I took it with me everywhere. After I took the passport from the bag, I left my hostel for my smoke. I was still pretty jumpy. Turning corner after corner, the flood of emotions wouldn't stop. Anxiety, regret, anger, helplessness, longing. I was trying different breathing techniques by the time I made it to the shore. The Avenue of the Americas, a seafront highway running through Nice with a sidewalk that overlooks the stretching azure shallows of the Mediterranean Sea. Gazing into the blue expanse was soothing. I think the 4-in, 4-out breath count helped a bit too. The vicious emotions in my head stopped fighting one another, and I was left with a single thought. Good place for a smoke. Oh shit, I haven't done my shopping yet. That's about how it went in every city, minus the panic. As soon as I got there, I'd check into the hostel with a thin wad of cash stolen from my previous roommates, toss my bag onto the most secluded bed in the room, and leave. Of course, I'd always keep the passport with me. After checking out the area and looking for spots, I'd find a suitable corner store, and I'd rob it. Cigarettes, beer, a lighter. If I was really into it, I'd even take some euros from the tip jar. Keep in mind, I was no petty thief. My robberies were artful, me being the protege of the smoothest criminal in Spain and all. But of course, I'll get to that later. I started back toward the streets of Nice to find a nice place to steal from. The city depressed me, since it used to be a dream of mine to take my family there on vacation. Lazily plopping on the rocky beaches next to my little son and beautiful wife. That was the dream. But a lot had changed since then. To start, my wife and son were no longer in the picture. I'd traveled through most of Europe alone. After robbing the corner store, I felt around in my pockets, clanking the beers together and gripping the lighter. Even though I was constantly stressed, those cigarette breaks put me at ease. For a moment, my problems would drift up into the atmosphere with the wispy smoke, and my biggest issue would be the carcinogens in my lungs. Every place I went, I made sure to smoke and take in the beauty around me. Enjoying the little things was what made my life tolerable. Those cigarette breaks always meant a lot to me. I passed through a pretty crowded plaza on the way back to the shore. At its center stood a massive monument to the god of the sea, called the Fontaine du Soleil, a marble Neptune, lord of all things wet, looming over his bronze subjects above a crystal blue lake. The fountain struck a nostalgic chord. That's a good spot too. I'll stop here on my way back. Finally, around 6, I made it back to the pebbly waterfront and found a little blue bench. The sun had set about an hour before. Darkness was kept from dominating the sky by the faint light of the moon, some stars, and a couple scattered airplanes. The sea looked so empty that night. An emptiness that tempted action, it seemed to me. I could sail away. Away from this running, away from this stealing, away from this hell. If only she could come with me. The Mediterranean coast has never failed to astonish me. The sea was the birthplace of the person I am today. It's not exactly easy to adjust from life as a corporate slave in America to life on the run. Most companies stop their training well short of fugitive survival protocol, you know. On the day of that incident, I booked the first flight out of the country. It took me to Faro, Portugal, probably the closest you can get to America on the European continent. When I landed, I was still Patrick Parity, your standard issue American man. I had all the illusions of a good American and none of the experiences of a hardened fugitive. That didn't change overnight. Once I made it to the other side of the Iberian Peninsula, though, I started to really thrive in my new lifestyle. To help out, I came up with 3 rules along the way. The rules are God if you want to survive, but they aren't easy to follow. Each one of them sacrifices a part of your soul. All of them together, and you'll pretty much cease to be human in the way most people would define the term. It's the most expensive price a person can pay. Now, having stopped running, I have to wonder if it was worth it.